The Cenozoic era is the last of three geologic eras in the Phanerozoic eon, and saw the rise of primarily mammals. It is split into three time periods, collectively lasting around 66 million years. The Cenozoic is the coolest of the three eras, with Earth as we know it now being in an ice age. An interglacial period, which is a time without major glaciers, which started around 11,700 years ago, but still an ice age. Many recent extinct Cenozoic species are well known, such as woolly mammoths, woolly rhinos, and saber-toothed cats, but there are some that are much less well known than others, especially closer to the beginning of the Cenozoic. Some were popularized and featured in documentaries like Walking with Beasts and Prehistoric Planet Ice Age, but many remain obscure. To shed light on these lesser known creatures, here are five cool Cenozoic animals. Snakes evolved from lizards during the late Jurassic period around 147 million years ago. Through most of the Cretaceous, they stayed relatively small, with exceptions including Sanajay in India and Madsoya in Madagascar. After the Cretaceous extinction, snakes got considerably larger, with the recently described Vasuki indicus overthrowing Titanoboa as the largest snake known. With many aquatic species out of the picture, the ocean was free for large predators to take over. Paleophis was among the earlier large oceanic predators, living during the Eocene epoch around 56 to 33.9 million years ago in Europe, Africa, and the United States, with some unverified reports suggesting it may have existed during the Cenomanian and Maastrichtian ages of the Cretaceous. It was a sea snake with 15 known species. The type species, or first described, being P. toliapicus, named by Sir Richard Owen in 1841. P. casei is the smallest, at just over 4 feet in length, whereas P. colosseus was the largest, with estimates suggesting it could reach up to 40 feet long. Each species likely had different ecological niches, but their diet probably consisted of fish and marine invertebrates. It's currently uncertain if they killed their prey with venom or constriction, and some evidence suggests they may have been endothermic or warm-blooded, like mosasaurs. Sharks trace their earliest ancestors to the Ordovician period, though the 8 living orders first emerged between the mid-Triassic and mid-Jurassic. The hexancoforms evolved during the early Jurassic, around 200 million years ago, though this date may be pushed back to the earlier mid-Triassic. The hexancoforms are a basal order of sharks with 7 living species: the frilled and southern African frilled shark, Atlantic, big eye, and blunt nose 6-gill shark, and sharp nose and broad nose 7-gill shark. Rolphodon was a large frilled shark that lived around the world during the late Cretaceous and survived until the early Pliocene epoch, around 90 to 5 million years ago. It was closely related to today's frilled sharks, so much so, in fact, that it was considered to belong to the same genus of Chlamydocelicus until 2019. Its teeth heavily resemble those of modern frilled sharks, suggesting a similar diet of small fish, cephalopods, and other soft-bodied prey. The largest species known, R. goliath, lived during the late Cretaceous in what is now Angola and could reach 20 feet in length. After the KPG extinction, mammals began to greatly diversify, many somewhat resembling species alive today. Among these animals were the brontothirs, large rhinoceros-like herbivores that lived during the Eocene epoch. Despite their appearance, their closest relatives are horses. Megacerops is among the best represented large mammals in the fossil record, with several hundred known specimens. It lived in North America during the late Eocene, around 37 to 34 million years ago. It reached up to 8 feet tall at the shoulder and weighed around 4 to 5.5 tons. It was a herding animal, distinguished by its unique V-shaped horn on its nose. Historically, this horn structure had split Megacerops into several genera and species, all based on variations in shape and size, but these features are now considered sexual dimorphism and differences between age and individuals. Carnivorids evolved during the Eocene epoch, around 42 million years ago, and split into several clades that still exist today. They are the sixth largest order of living mammals, comprising 279 known species. Viverids are among these species, appearing in the Eocene. They are feliforms, making them closer to cats, mongooses, and hyenas than to wolves and foxes. The largest known viverid was Vishnuictis, a close relative of civets from China, India, Myanmar, Pakistan, and Kenya during the Miocene until Middle Pleistocene epochs, around 14 million to 730,000 years ago. It was originally considered a species of Canis before being described as a vivera species, with later studies suggesting it was distinct enough to belong to its own genus. There are several known species of Vishnuictis, though it is generally believed to have been comparable in size to modern leopards, and may have served a similar role as a mesopredator or apex predator in its environment. V. plectylodus was likely an omnivore, as suggested by tooth structure, while V. durandi is believed to have been hypercarnivorous. True crocodiles first appeared during the late Cretaceous, but prior to this, they had many relatives adapted to different environments. Among the more successful adaptations was a terrestrial lifestyle. The earliest pseudosuchians, such as Phaseolasuchus, were terrestrial apex predators, and although crocodilomorphs later transitioned into aquatic environments, some stayed on land. Among the most recent of these land-based crocodiles was Quincana from Australia during the Oligocene to late Pleistocene epochs, around 25 million to 10,000 years ago. It was a smaller to average-sized crocodile, ranging between just over 5 to 9 feet long, depending on the species, with one fragmentary lower jaw suggesting an animal 23 feet in length. This is heavily up for debate, however, as Quincana is generally fragmentary with little postcranial material. It could have been a primarily terrestrial predator, though some evidence also suggests it may have been semi-aquatic. It primarily hunted early kangaroos, wombats, and other Australian fauna, possibly competing with the equally sized or slightly larger monitor lizard Varanus priscus. Sadly, its extinction is generally believed to have been due to forced competition and being hunted by early Australian Aboriginal settlers. So, there we have 5 cool Cenozoic animals. Did you know of any of these? As I've said in the other 3 parts of this, I try to fit decently known and obscure creatures into much of my work, so hopefully you learned something. I personally don't know as much about prehistoric mammals as other animals, but these are still fun to make. This 4 part series was partially inspired by all of the AI Dino Sludge videos Fish Take on a Stick has reacted to for over a year. I wanted to make proper informative videos with correct information, and partially just to share my knowledge of prehistoric creatures. All of the information in this series comes from my memory, nearly a decade's worth of it, and proper online sources, so no AI was used. That said, I may have hyper quoted some things more than intended, but at least I used a proper source. Further, the 4 part series was actually a rewrite of an originally 3 part series I began to make last year. The Precambrian section was basically a last minute decision. Some species were cut from the original version of it, and some were cut from the rewrite, but still some nice picks. Anyway, that's really it for this. Maybe I'll make another video like this. I do have quite a few other ideas for something like this. This series is the only scripted thing I've done so far. It wasn't that bad, just took a lot longer than usual to make. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you again next time.